Hello, everyone. We'll talk about business leadership and ethics in this particular presentation. So, yes, to understand how to conduct business in an ethical way and at the same time maintain an elite position as far as market is concerned, revenue is concerned. So, we'll talk about values and leadership. How values affect leaders, as the case might be. First and foremost is your perception of situation and problems at hand. How do you look at the situation, and do you look it as an opportunity or problems? That is what we need to find out. Remember, every coin has two sides, and both the sides are integral part of the coin. It's the way you want to look at it is very important. Solution generated and decisions taken, interpersonal relationship, organizational and personal success per se, differentiating between right and wrong, accepting and rejecting the organizational pressures and goals. But these are my values, as in what solution we are looking into it, what is your interpersonal skills, how good rapport that you have with your internal customers. When I say internal customers, it is your employees. When I say external customers, it is your vendors, it is your end customers perhaps. So we need to understand what is your success stories as an individual, and perhaps that can be translated into an organizational success, and differentiating what is right and what is wrong as an ethical being is concerned, accepting and rejecting the pressures and the goals of the organization then and there. So the power and influences. What are we looking out here, and how do we go around it? Remember, it's in a situation which will churn out two kind of people. One is a leader, the other one would be a follower. So it's a situation which translates a followers and a leader. Remember, a leader can be an ascribed position just because of the intellectual prowess that he or she might possess, or the skills that he or she might possess as an expert. Now, leaders can also be referent, coercive, and rewarding. Now, but expert is essentially ascribed to that personal attributes of the person, where the followers might be referent or rewarding, depending upon whether they are influenced by the leaders or probably they are there with their own self-interest as far as the reward is concerned. Situation would be all about your cohesiveness and the legitimacy, as the case might be. Situation which might be where on your own sweet free will, or you are compelled to do certain things in a certain fashion. That's in coercive is going around it. Remember, at the end of the power and influences is what we are all looking for, a win-win situation. Win situation for the leader, win situation for the follower, and probably an optimum outcome to the situation thereby. So that is what we should be looking around here. So ethics and values, leaders face ethical dilemmas. Definitely, yes. Doing what is right, doing what is wrong. Need to understand, and probably it is inside the person that the person values around it as morally right thing to do. In fact, morally right thing to do and morally courageous to enact upon those right thing is something way different and way understanding. Moral examples become examples for followers. Burns, in way back in 1978, said leaders not behaving ethically do not demonstrate true leadership. As on well-known basis, a person who is not ethical in his or her rights is not a true leader in the per se. So, what are the values that we look into it? Construct of generalized behavior considered by individuals to be very important. That is what we look to around it. What do you value upon? Patrick Henry's statement on freedom, personal freedom stated, give me liberty or give me death. In between, there is nothing. It's either black or white. It gave me to live at my own sweet will, or let me die as of now at this point of time. People valuing personal integrity in unethical organization, most of the businesses, most of the corporate, most of the companies that have some unethical attributes to do with, probably because of the pressing times, pressing demands, pressing objectives, and so on and so forth. So, do we walk the talk, or should we actually succumb to the pressure and do the unethical things to garner our objective, to gain our goals? Forces that shapes and molds personal values are generations up to 1950s, accepting authority. Baby boomers are 1950s to 60s are what we are talking about. People born up. in between 50s and 60s are known as baby boomers. But to be very frank with you people, the participant, the audience of this video, you need to understand that I have based this presentation on to the Society of United States of America, because then there it will be ascribed around there. I am not very sure from where you people are accessing or which all countries you are accessing this video. So what you have to do is ascribe the segmentation to your society, to your country, and you will see there are more or less a similar kind of setup already been placed. So yes, generation up is beyond 1950s, who are 80 plus old right now as of today. Baby boomers are 50s and 60s, probably people born in between them. Generation X would be somewhere around 1970s to mid 1990s. It's the people who have that rebel category in themselves, defying authority. Generation Y is a mid 1990s, just the internet generation, which I want to go around it. Want boundaries to be set in, probably rules to be followed, rules and regulations to be ascribed to, basic value system formulating during the different social and cultural conditions. However, people from different generations still share the more or less the similar values, similar system. Moral reasoning process leaders used to make decision about ethical and unethical behaviors, as the case might be. So what influence value? We need to understand what influences value. Building blocks of leadership skills, less enduring, more modifiable. What are they? They are your skills. They are your competencies. How do you build your skills and competency? It is through the knowledge that you gain, through the experiences that you work around as a grind through. Yes, these are relatively endearing and permanent. And last but not the least, individual ascribed values of intelligence, traits, and preferences, values and interest, motives and goals. So yes, this is what we need to understand, which are relatively less enduring and permanent, less enduring and modifiable. Believe me, influencing on values based on your intelligence and your skills and your value system, on your personal traits, on your personal preferences, these are more or less permanent, right? Based upon it, you need to build up your knowledge and experiences as on when on basis. On the mixture of this heady cocktail, can you come up with your skills and competencies? Remember, skills and competencies can be ascribed, can be attained, can be modified, and so on and so forth. Leading across culture behaviors learned which characterize the total way of life within a given society, within a particular community. Example, distinctive action, mannerism, gestures, characteristics of that culture. So mannerism, there might be laid back attitude, people might be laid back attitude, people might be very cohesive, very focused, people might be very individualistic, people might be very collective. But what I'm trying to tell it to you is the community culture that comes around here that needs to be done. There are patriarchal society, there are matriarchal societies also. So it tells you exactly about what the culture is all about too. Jared Hofstede, way back in 1980, study on 4 dimensions of cultural values and belief. What are they? Individualism, masculinism, tolerance, and power distance. Now, what is individualism versus collectivism? Is people are individual oriented, think about themselves, or they think about the community as a whole. Individuality versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity. Masculinity is something, some sort of aggressiveness in the society. People are go-getters, where a feminism is somewhere down the empathy factor, the feeling that needs to be taken into consideration, that nobody should be hurt to the greater extent. Tolerance versus tolerance of uncertainty. It's the amount of data that you have, the decision that you make behind the knowledge that you have. So whether you have the requisite knowledge before you jump in, you take the risk or for the reward, or you don't have the requisite knowledge, so you don't jump in. There is no risk at all. So there's no reward at all. So you need to understand tolerance versus tolerance of uncertainty. Then comes the power distance and power equation. Then this is where the individual are very close to another individual, because the closer they people think, the stronger the bond would be. So this is power distance, which is minimized. This is one school of thought. The other school of thought is, if you keep one individual and another individual separate, the more the distance would be, the more the respect for each other would be. And similarly, the work can go around it. So that is what power distance and power equalization is all about it. So you should to individually work uh, in complete cooperation with one another, or should they maintain a distance between one another so that the work gets done? So yes, the learning outcomes is ethical shaping as a function of leadership, cultural values, adaptability, achievements, bureaucratic cultures, environmental conditions, as the case might be, basic philosophy of human nature and approach to leadership, as the case, relationship between values and leaders, leadership challenges and individual values in an organization context, as why you want to go around it, and that is what is exactly all about here. Four categories of culture. One is on flexibility, the other one would be on stability. So one is completely flexible, the other one is fixed, absolutely fixed. One is internal focus, as the case might be, and the other is an external focus. So one internal focus, the other one is an external focus. Now, what are we looking into when the culture is flexible and internal focus? We are talking about adaptability culture. That is all about values, creativity, experimentation, risk, autonomy, and responsiveness. Everything is being changed as per the requirement. But what if you have internal focus and not external focus? Remember, not internal focus, but are flexible. What are we looking? We are looking about overall culture of the clan or the community in terms of values. What are they? They are cooperation, consideration, agreement, fairness, social equality. It's the society. Remember, in adaptability culture, the values are creativity, experimentation, risk, autonomy. Why? Because it is influenced by the external sources. But in internal focus, it is all about cooperation. It is all about consideration, agreement, fairness, social equality. Now let us understand about the stability. When we are looking at stability, but our external focuses, we are talking about achievement culture. What are the values? Competitiveness, diligence, perfectionism, aggressiveness, personal initiative, as the case might be. But in case when if it is stability versus internal structures, as internal focus, as the case might be, the values are economy, formality, rationality, and order and obedience, as the case outrightly stated. So, shaping cultures, techniques to create strong, healthy culture to meet the needs of the external environment. What are we looking out here? We are trying to shape, give a sense of belongingness to a particular culture through ceremonies, through stories, through symbols, through specialized languages, selections, and socialization. Daily action as on when on required. That is what we are basically basing upon. How leaders influences the ethical values. First and foremost is the code of ethics, a formal statement of an organization, as the case might be. The ethical code, where the organization stands for values and behavior that are expected and those that will be tolerated. So what is expected and what is tolerated, they are to be merged around here. That's the code of ethics that we are talking about. Structures, ethical structures and programming to encourage ethical behavior, ethics committee and ombudsman, as the case might. Training, the leaders often would be implementing a training regarding to the augmented to the written code of conduct, disclosure mechanism, voicing concern, whistleblowing, disclosure of illegal and immoral practices thereby. So what are we looking at? Disclosure mechanism is voicing the concern, whistleblowing, disclosure of illegal. So the leaders will influence it through code of ethics, structures, training, disclosure mechanism, how to communicate, how the flow of information would all be about it, what the structure is all about it, what training, what is expected of an individual per se, the community. We are talking about the importance of culture. What? It's an integral integration, the intricacies of all people coming together helps member to develop a collective identity, know how to work together effectively. It guides day-to-day working relationship, determine how people communicate, what behavior is acceptable, unacceptable, how power and status are allocated. Culture can imprint a set of unwritten rules in minds of employees, as in Japanese firm. Emphasis on team, collaboration, open communication, security, and equality. This is what we will be talking around here, the importance of culture. Now, the external adaptations, what do we do? Whether the organization or how does the organization meets a goal? Dealing with outsider, responding to the customer needs, dealing with competitors, encouraging employee commitment to the core purpose of organization, of specific goals, and accomplishing them on a regular basis. Cultural strength and adaptation is a degree of agreement between employees. Remember, there can be a disagreement, but what amount of disagreement can be tolerated upon it? The importance of specific values and ways of doing things. Widespread consensus, strong, cohesive culture. Culture gap, difference between desired and actual values, and the behavior thereby. So, how do value develops? it develops through parents, from your upbringing, from your religion that you follow, from the technology that you embrace, your peers, what kind of friends you serve, friend circles you have, your education and your media. This is an established way to assimilate values into the personal value system. I again repeat, religion, parents, peers, technology, media, and education. These six verticals are very important for a person and how the person has been exposed to create a particular value system. Repeating it again for your understanding: religion, parents, technology, peers, media, and education. These six things are required. Level of moral reasoning are different from groups to group. Obviously, yes. How, what level does a group manifest? How long do you think you interpret a result and situation? What are the benefits you are looking? Is it the short term benefits that you are more interested in, or you are looking for a longer term perspective? That needs to be understood. Organization moving from level 1 to next level, improving quality of leader following relationship, developing explicit ethical guidelines, appointing ombudsman to address ethical conflict, formal ethics to education program, leaders to have high moral standards of ethical service. Stephen Covey's principle centered leadership is personal, interpersonal, managerial, and organizational. In effect, what are we looking as far as the leaderships are concerned, strategic leaderships are concerned, the ethics are concerned? We are talking, we are trying to influence the organization culture. That is the fundamental bottom line. Leaders influence ethical values and organizational culture. Culture is a set of keys, values, assumption, ways of thinking shared by the members and taught to the new members. Cultures serve two functions: integrate organization members and help organization adapt to the environment. One is internally, the other one will be externally, helping integrating the organization members and helping the organization adapts to the environment. Culture gap is the organization culture not aligned with the needs of an external environment. Culture values influenced by ceremonies, stories, symbols, specialized languages, selections, socialization. Four type of culture exist. I have stated about Hofstede of individualism, masculinity. Uh, we have said about relationships being power distance, and so on and so forth. The leaders influence ethical values through code of ethics, ethics committee, ombudsmanship, training program, disclosure mechanism, as the case might be. Four categories. What are we looking into it? We are looking into two dimensions, which the extent to which in which the external environment plays a influences the flexibility or the stability, or the extent in which the focus is on the internal or the external things, whether you are internalizing certain values or you adapting it from the external values per se. Two dimensions of culture: the external environment, which requires flexibility and stability; the extent to the strategic focus, which remains either internal or external. Together, this we have four kind of cultures: adaptability culture, achievement culture, clan culture, and bureaucratic culture. I repeat: adaptability culture, achievement culture, clan culture, and bureaucratic culture. Thereby, major values to be considered by essentially you, essentially me, every individual who is watching this particular video. Terminal values is an exciting life, right? Terminal values are sense of accomplishment. Terminal values might be a family security. Terminal values might be inner harmony. Terminal values might be social recognition, as the case might be. Terminal values may be the friends. I have just covered it for you. What is the instrumental values? It can be your behavior, the modes of your behavior, being courageous, being helpful, being honest, being imaginative, being logical, being responsible. Remember, instrumental values are the explicit ways of how you behave, conduct yourself in the society. Terminal values are the end values that we are looking for: it exciting life, family security, inner harmony, wonderful recognitions, friendship, sense of accomplishment. How do you get it? Is through being courteous, helpful, natures, honest, imaginative, logical, responsible, and so on and so forth. Next is the seven dilemmas of all culture that faces around here. That is, one is the source of individual identity, whether it's individual or not, or collective. Goals and achievement. Did I say you are masculine or feminine, or tougher or tender? Orientation of authorities are whether you're looking at equal or unequal basis. Responsibility of ambiguity is dynamic or stable. means of knowledge acquisition is active or reflective. Are you proactive or you gain knowledge after an event? Perspective on time is whether it's careful and you try to make the most of the time, or it's plentiful, have a laid back attitude as if life is going to happen to you. An outlook of a life is whether you are making life happen or life happening to you, either doing or being there. So misunderstanding, confusion when people from different cultures work together, and there can be plentiful of it. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video till the end.